Hey guys, FilthyRobot here with Arumba, carrying on with our Tech Team America playthrough of Civilization 6. We're just doing some strategy discussion, trying to figure out what we want to do with this land. You want to tell them what we came up with?
Well, basically, we're thinking that even though this territory is pretty garbage, there's still a lot of merit towards expanding anyway. I mean, mostly because there's three factors, I think. Number one is that you get culture from every population unit, 0.3 culture per person. Number two, you get 0.7 science for every person. And number three, you get better overall population growth the smaller your towns are. We actually did figure out what the formula was. And the formula is, let's say you're growing from, say, 3 pop to 4 pop, or in this case here, 4 pop to 5 pop. The food cost is going to be half of the difference between the two. So 4 plus 5 divided by 2 is 9. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5, right? And then you multiply that by 10. So the cost to grow to the next person is going to be 45 food. So if you have a much smaller town, then you're going to end up paying far less. So let's say you have 6 population total, then the food cost to grow that is going to be 65. But if you have 2 separate towns at 3 pop, then the cost is 35. So you could have 2 extra pop for almost the same food cost just by cutting the size of your towns in half.
And this is another reason, again, for wide play in this game. Yes, the cost of builders, everyone in YouTube comments wants to push this out repeatedly. The cost of districts, the cost of builders, and the cost of workers. And actually, I think you were saying the other day, you were seeing the cost of traders as well.
Yeah,
all that goes up based on the number of cities you have, the number of them you had. So each consecutive builder costs more. Each consecutive, or not even consecutive, just each next settler costs more. However, that the returns on what you want from a city are access to the buildings that are going to give you the win condition. So like science buildings and science win, tourism buildings for a tourism win. And you want population, which gives you just raw culture and raw science, which is going to drive everything. And they grow so much more efficiently at small sizes. So, I mean, we could even experiment too. Like the only necessity to growing a city past a certain point is access to districts. There's no downside. I mean, like in Civ 5, there was a huge downside to settling a city that didn't grow very well. And the downside was it upped your culture and science costs for all of your social policies and all of your science policies. Mm-hmm. So if you had a 4-pop city in Civilization 5 and also upped your cost and all your national wonders in terms of the timing on that, you could screw yourself because that city was not pulling its weight for your empire and it sold your entire empire down here. Even if we have crappy cities that we settle here, they're not going to slow our entire empire down because there's no mechanic that's similar to that, right? No national colleges, nothing like that. No national wonders. So even if they only provide a little bit of food and production to our empire, a little bit of food and culture, that's still more than they provided if they provided none, and there's no downside to settling that. So with that logic, honestly, we could even see how many cities we could fit and see what it does. I'm kind of curious.
Right. Now, I did do some math on the builder costs, and I'm not sure. You just mentioned that you think builders go up based on the number of cities that you have?
I think it's built on the number you built of builders.
Okay, yeah, that's my
Same
experience as well.
The district cost is supposed to go up based on the number of those districts. I don't know if it's the number of districts you've had or the number of cities you've settled. We should look at that.
Oh, yeah. Cost 195 for an entertainment district. Base cost
was 60. Yeah.
So that is pretty high. Is it per city? I'm assuming that the price is the same on all of them. Yeah, they're all at 195 now, and that's with 4 cities.
So, it almost, if we're going to do this like these later cities too, maybe what we do is we build, I don't know, you got to start thinking about timing on this, but what do we want? We should figure out a victory condition here. What we want to do. And then we should invest in the basic districts we need for that victory condition. And then we should spam a bunch of cities because the cost of their additional stuff is going to go up, right? So maybe what we do for the additional cities, we stockpile gold, purchase them their granaries, get a builder over there to improve the raw shit around them for basically housing, and then have them build only the districts that are necessary to advance our victory condition. But do this all roughly at the same time so that we're not founding a city, increasing the cost, founding a city, increasing the cost, founding a city, increasing the cost, but rather founding them all at once after we have the core districts done in our primary cities. Should we try that?
Yeah, that's a pretty involved strategy that you just came up with on the fly.
Yeah, makes sense. That's why we're doing this, right?
So we're not going for domination. Is that you're saying you don't want to do that one?
Well, I think so since last time we recorded together, there was a little bit of a break, and you had a little bit more time to experience playing against the AI yourself, the Prince AI. And for me, what I found very early on is that I need a higher difficulty level of setting, because it will be, especially if I'm going to war, because the war gets too repetitive otherwise, because the AI is so bad at defending itself at this low of a difficulty. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. This civ in particular makes just like warring such a hilarious joke. So I think you were saying something similar, right? I mean, tell our viewers about your experience with this recently, because I'm kind of curious to hear as well. Like, summarize that for them. Why do we not want to go a military strategy here? Because you were pretty excited about killing them last time.
Yeah, well, I still feel like when I see a free settler or a free builder, it's incredibly difficult to not declare war on them. But at the same time, like, I played a campaign over the weekend, and I was just attacking people when I saw them, and I won. And I was surprised because I didn't realize that the game was over. Apparently, I had done a small map or whatever, and it only had 3 other AI. I thought there were more AI, and so I'm just like, oh, I'll just kill anyone that I find that's nearby. And like within 60, 70 turns, the game just ended, and it said, you have won. And then there was this like dialogue that popped up and said, you got to wait for the full release for the special cinematic ending or whatever. And I'm like, what? The game is over? That was pathetic. And I'm not even, I have nowhere near as much experience as you do with Civilization in general, let alone Civ 6. You've played still far more hours than I have. I probably put in maybe another 8 to 10 hours since we played last week. And that was enough that there's just no challenge whatsoever. I mean, you mentioned, I think on turn 1 or 2, video 1 or 2 of last session, that we could just go kill, who is this over here, Norway, with 2 slingers. And that's really all that it takes. It's so pathetic.
Yeah. And I mean, this is why when I'm live streaming this right now or recording videos on this, I did do one game where I would only allow myself to declare war if I could get the causes, if they declared war on me first, or I could get the casus belli, which is basically the justified war stuff. That was the only way I'd allow myself to declare war on them, was to use that. And I was just doing that to figure out the kind of mechanics behind that. But in general, like my rule of thumb is I don't want to just farm the AI, because the game ends too quickly to explore the options of this game. And I think this game has really good potential, especially the higher difficulties, to be a really fun game. But it's just right now the Prince AI is just so weak that it's very difficult to get any fun game if you're just going to war them, because it ends too quickly, and it ends with almost no counterplay from them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So So the next step then is we need to decide if we want to do science or culture, science or tourism. You have a preference?
Well, I've never ever gotten into the tourist thing. Like I mentioned in Civ 5, whenever I've played, I've always just gone for domination. So I really don't even know. Like last night, I got a goodie hut that gave me a relic, and I was like, "What in the hell is a relic?" So yeah, I mean, I'm thinking maybe the tourist thing could be good. Science seems a little straightforward.
It is, and it's actually slower than tourism, mostly because all of the science fiction stuff in this game, which is different than Civ 5, takes astronomical amounts of production. So, like, the actual limiting factor hasn't been science for my science victories. The limiting factor in my science victories has been production.
We're just looking to see exactly where we're at here. We don't have lumber mill yet, and like I said, I have played 10 hours, so I'm a little bit more comfortable with the strategy here. I'm looking at these tiles and thinking, I took a lot of the information that we talked about, right, to try to get better. And I'm looking at the tiles that the game is trying to make us work, and it's like, well, a lumber mill would make this way more productive. 1-3 and 2-2 would be awesome. We just have nothing here. I'm also looking to see if there's any tiles that we can purchase that might maybe get some extra value for us right now.
Did you catch the bug?
Which
the
bug is
tile
that?
purchasing bug?
Tile purchasing bug? No. What's that?
Oh, you didn't catch that? Okay. No. It's not an actual bug. I was suggesting that it's that I've spread it to you, the desire, because you look at these tiles, you go, these tiles suck. I want better tiles. What can I purchase to make the city tiles better? And I always feel that way. Like we were joking last time that we were playing that you're like, you want to buy all these tiles, and I'm like, yes, I do, because I hate my cities being terrible.
I do and I don't. I think that there's still, and we talked about this on Skype between just in chat, not actually while we were playing or anything. And by the way, I apologize to anyone who's watching right now and wants us to just take turns here, but I just also want to remind you that the whole purpose of the TAC team format is to discuss strategy. So there's going to be some episodes where we only play a turn or two, but we talk a lot, and other episodes where we power through 10 turns because there's nothing to do. But anyway, so we talked before, and I still think that there's some validity towards stockpiling gold for certain purchases. You were talking about how you don't really like gold in the early game because you can't use gold to buy... it's just not very effective, right? Like if you have an early Agogi thing and you're knocking out some slingers or whatever, then why would you want to spend gold at a ratio of 4 gold for 1 production when you could just have this Agogi thing and just produce them yourself?
Yeah, so to clarify that 4 gold to 1 production is what we looked at, and this has been one of the things I've actually really enjoyed doing these collaborations with you, is especially population formula. You went and worked it out, and I'm looking forward to seeing your take on the tourism when we get there. But right now, the cost of purchasing a unit versus building it And you said you had a look at this, and it was basically 4-to-1, right? It costs 4 times as much gold as it does hammers to purchase something.
Yep, right here you can see that it's showing 105 production, gold cost to purchase is 420. Here it's
and that's
240 and 60.
Yeah, and if you want to look now at the value of a tile, now we actually have a formula for equating gold to production. It's not exactly perfect because there's extenuating circumstances for everything, but in general, 1 hammer is worth 4 gold.
Mm-hmm.
And now if you take the social policies, mouse over them again, especially the military ones, the 100% and the 50% ones, if you look at those policies, if you look at the one that gives you 100% there, that makes the ratio 8-to-1. And that one, right, either of the 100% ones make that ratio 8-to-1 hammers to gold, right? Because the hammers are now doubly effective, and that makes it 6-to-1.
And even with settlers. But here's the thing and this is my argument for there still being quite a bit of value to gold, is that let's say you're starting the game, right, and you don't actually have access to early empire. So you don't have this 50% production toward settlers, or maybe you don't have the 30% production toward builders. In that case, there is a huge argument for using your gold to purchase specific units that either don't have any kind of reduction, or it's not really a reduction truly, but they don't have a production multiplier, or you aren't able to access the policy yet. So the very first settler, for example, sometimes the very first builder, traders, there's no modifier for. Spearmen, there's no modifier for. And also scouts, there's no modifier for. Also, pretty much every building.
Except the problem is, what tile do you work where you ever get that favorable yield? If the minimum value you're getting is 4-to-1, and sometimes it's 8-to-1, where is a tile yield you get where you get 4-to-1 gold compared to hammers?
I'm not saying that you would ever want to work gold over production. Yeah, I'm saying more like the gold that you have could, in some circumstances, be better spent purchasing specific units or buildings instead of buying tiles. And there's just an argument to look at.
I buy that. I absolutely buy that in some cases. I certainly, if I've given the option of would I like 500 gold or like no gold, I of course would obviously pick I want more gold for that. Like, I don't think the resource in of itself is not valuable. It's just that when I'm accumulating the resource, it feels more efficient to accumulate hammer or focus hammers than it does to focus gold. Now, I think we had some discussions too also offline, and we'll probably try to get through some turns in a minute here. I promise we won't make this any longer about this. Let me just say this last thing. I think you had some really good points about sometimes there's stuff you can do to basically jumpstart a new city with gold that you couldn't do with hammers. And that is that because you just can't, for example, if the one pop city can't finish a granary instantly, no matter how many sweet hammer tiles are in that city, for example. Okay.
I'm looking at this thing and seeing here that we're housing capped, and it's like, why would we work the food over the production if it's housing capped and we're taking a penalty? It's only effectively worth 1.5 food. Yep. So to me that kind of makes sense. But it's I don't know. I've actually found in my own personal experience that you always want to teach our cities about the wonders of food and production.
Yep.
I found just leaving it completely off works the exact same tiles. That's
interesting. Are you still locking tiles, or have you moved away from locking tiles?
If I turn these off, look, we're working the exact same tiles as we were a second ago.
Yeah, but we have no gold or culture tiles here that aren't locked. So what happens when gold tiles get introduced to that? If you're only looking at food and hammers and you turn that off, sure, okay, it's choosing the best because those are the only resources it chooses between. The only thing that letting it focus food and production does relative to anything else is it prioritizes those tiles, those yields higher than it does other yields, even though it's the same number. So if you have those two focused, it cares more about food over faith or food over gold, right?
Sure, but I've not found situations where the food and production don't overrun the faith and culture. Like, even if you take God of the Sky and you've got all of your pastures with culture, you're going to want to work the pastures anyway because they've got food and production. And then like faith, like it's very rare that you ever run into an issue where faith is so high that it chooses that tile over anything else.
Okay, well, I'm up for trying whatever and experimenting with this. It's still very early in the game in terms of the release time of this game, so it may turn out that is the better way to do it. I have no idea, or it may turn out not, or it may turn out exactly equal. For now, though, let's take a look. Let's do a little bit of a strategic kind of assessment of our position here. How close are we to a profit? Because you were talking about potentially you can use faith to grab a profit when you're not quite there otherwise.
560.
So we could do that now if we wanted to. We have the faith, and we're not spending it with anything. Let's do that.
Done.
All right, do we have our profit site up? We do, right? Our site?
I don't remember. I think so.
I think it's there. I think
right
that's
here,
that. Yeah, I think so too. Okay, let's head over there. Let's found a religion.
Can't do that yet. No movement.
No movement when you purchase them. Okay, so unlike when they spawn. When they spawn, they have movement, but when you purchase them, they don't. That's similar to Civ 5 as well. Okay, cool.
Were we doing farms here? I think we may have been for the triumvirate, possibly, also for housing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we need the housing, right? And it's odd numbers of no, it's even numbers of farm. How many farms do we have? So do we get one housing out of that?
This would be a good opportunity to maybe test and see. Do you get bonus housing from multiple upgrade types? Like if you do,
that would be nice to know. Okay, so can you go to the city? Let's see if it gives us a decimal point approximation of housing right now or not.
I don't think it does. Yeah, housing from buildings is exactly. It just says 3.
And we have housing for improvements 1, but we only have 2 farms. That actually does make sense. So this third farm should not give us any more housing unless it rounds up. And we guess we can see if it rounds up in a minute. You want to plant that? I'm fine with that.
Well, if we're going to plant it here, we must plant it up there.
Yeah, let's do both. But let's see right now if it updates this, right? And we don't have feudalism anyway, so we don't get the growth bonus quite yet.
Yeah, we're still at 8 out of 9.
Yeah, but tooltip, right? We check this our next turn because it won't update.
Fair enough.
Has that driven you nuts yet?
The thing. You remember last session you were like, oh, the worst thing in this game is the auto unit cycle bug or the auto unit cycle enemy, and I was like, what are you talking about? I've never had that problem. Here's what it is: the faster you start to play, the better you get at the game, where you know what you want to do, the more of a problem it is, because you just play too fast and it tries to cycle you to a different unit, and it is infuriating. It drives me crazy.
Yes, I've been bitching about this for so long. I'm glad. I've really enjoyed that you got a little bit of time in between the last episode and this episode to play like on your own to catch up a little bit more, because now it feels like some of the stuff, like, I'm really glad that bothers you too. I'm not alone in that, because I think my chat thinks I'm going a little bit insane when I complain about it so much, but it's good. It's good that someone else do. How are we doing on time?
We're good for another 4 minutes here. Okay, so I'm just looking at this. We've got plantations. They give plus 0.5 pop, right?
Yes, they do.
And
we have a plantation there, right?
Yeah, we got a plantation there. We've got a pasture here, so that should provide 1. And if it's not, then we have confirmation. Okay, so housing from buildings is at 2. And I think there's actually something, the harbor providing plus 1.
Yeah.
So we got 1 from the harbor.
We're building an aqueduct here too, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. We already have the answer then. Harbor gave us plus 1, and then this gave us 0.5, and then this gave us 0.5, and we ended up with 2. So yes, it does add the different types of upgrade tile together.
Good. Okay. That is excellent. So that builder, I don't know that we wish to put a farm there. I feel like he came down. He was here for lumber mills, right? How much time does he have left? Oh, we could purchase the amenity too. That's good. Oh, that'd be a plantation and housing as well. And he's got 3 charges, so we could do both lumber mills and the amenity. That seems reasonable.
Yeah. Also, the cattle could be nice, but this town's growing pretty well.
Yeah, it's already blocked already, right?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, what would you prefer to do? Just build a random house that we're not even going to work? We're not even working this tile right now.
No. I don't want to work. I don't want to build a random house. I want to improve both the forest, which we can't do till we have machinery, and I want to improve the tobacco with that guy.
All right. So for now, we'll head up there. And for tech, we just finished some research. Probably should do machinery next, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's pretty solid. To get the lumber mills out. We just finished apprenticeship, which is the one that gives us industrial zones, which I believe are the best district in the game right now. Maybe aqueducts but aqueducts, so they call an aqueduct a district, and they call a neighborhood a district, but neither of them count towards your district limit. So maybe they increase in cost. We should check that too, if they do increase in cost in number of cities like other districts. But in general, I don't really consider them mentally as districts right now. So
yeah. It's strange to me that they are that way.
Yeah. But at the moment, it feels like okay, so where are we? Have we met any decent city-states? No, we have no production city-state yet, do we? That's frustrating.
No. We got a military one. We can do production towards units, but no district bonuses. Lots of culture, lots of faith, a little bit of science, some gold.
Okay.
And we could go for the suzerain bonus with Lisbon, but
is that the trading one that doesn't get pillaged?
Yeah. Your city-states
earn for cross-continent.
Ooh, plus 15% science, but we're not going to go for the science victory, and we don't have any campuses yet that I'm aware of.
I think we should save this for. I think we should save our envoys anyways for industrial city-states. As soon as we meet one, we're gonna be. You'll see why. I mean, if you haven't already, I'm sure you have. They're amazing. So.
All right. Well, there's not much to do in this turn since we're not actually killing people, even though we could.
Let's get through one turn for this video, or is this turn 2?
This is the second turn so far.
Okay.
So far.
Value.
I heard some combat. All right. Fill policy slot. Why?
Because we got a profit, so you no longer can generate profit points.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so want to do one of these inspirations, or do you want to take one of the other military/economic policies? 100% towards defensive buildings. We already built walls a while ago. We're not producing any military units.
So it'd either be builders or great artist points, or writer points rather. Excuse me, and I'd be okay with either of those. Depends what else we're doing in our capital. I feel like right now we're probably going to invest in industrial districts since that's the tech we just took. So maybe we just do writer points.
Just wanted to see if there was anyone who wanted us to create a great person, and they do not. All right. Fair enough. I feel like the great writer's fine. Seems good. All right, so let's go find our religion. We're probably not going to have time to do this in this episode because we have to take a break here. But
sounds good.
We will talk a little bit less next episode now that we're back in the saddle and ready to go. But yeah, I guess we'll be back tomorrow then, and we'll find a religion.
See you guys tomorrow.